This is the Rebel Call channel. Welcome to today's show. As everybody out there knows who has followed my channel over the years, even though I'm brand new to YouTube, my motto has always been that love wins. So I want to make it really clear before I do this video. Love wins. And of course, by love winning, I mean communism wins, right? Because everybody knows that love wins just really means let's embrace insanity and let's allow insane people to be empowered and have more rights than the sane people. Because when we do that, of course, what it leads to is laws and things put in place to silence people who are exposing a tyrannical rogue government. And eventually, of course, all the insane people will be silenced like all of us are. But I have to show you a couple of stories that popped up and I got wind of what's going on in the United States of Babylon, because it is absolutely hysterical but frightening and sad at the same time. Now, the first story I'll show you is furries. That's right, furries. For those of you that don't know what a furry is, of course, I identify as a furry, so I don't want anybody out there to get me for hate speech. I identify as a furry, and I'm sure you guys do too. In my spare time, I dress up as Popeye the Sailor Man. I get one of those big costumes. Sometimes, actually, I do Donald Duck, but either or. And I get intimate with my fellow ladies who I don't even know if it's a girl or boy, whatever is underneath there. It's called furry action, right? You dress up as one of these animals. You know, you go to a theme park and you see Pluto or Mickey Mouse if you go to a CIA Disney World. Well, I do that in my spare time. That's what furries do. So this is what furries are, right? They dress up as animals and somehow they're attracted to each other. Don't ask me. I mean, a long time ago, someone told me that there was rooms with padded walls that were literally created for people like this. But anyway, furries who are now popping up around elementary schools. And of course, we shouldn't be concerned about that, right? It's one thing to be a furry and to be allowed to exist. It's another thing if a furry is targeting kids. That's, I think, when a lot of us draw the line, which is exactly what we see the government doing with the LGBT movement that's going on. It wasn't enough for people to just say, yeah, okay, let them get married. Their sin is their sin. They could deal with God after the fact. But they decided to empower the people and just continue to gaslight them to the point that they want to get into public schools and get into libraries and grind on kids. I mean, all sorts of insane stuff. So, of course, now everybody's infuriated by it because, well, you push sane people only so far, right? Well, here we have furries who are walking around in Sacramento, California, near an elementary school. And of course they have satanic symbols written all over their bodies. I mean, I'll play the news clip for you, but it's funny to hear even just a guy out there and he's like, I think it's some type of satanic pentagram on his body. That's right, of course it is. And you think it's a coincidence that the furries have that written on? Because they're probably members of the local satanic temple. Because, of course, these people have religious freedoms protected, and people like me who are openly Christian, openly, I should say, a devout follower of Jesus Christ, we are not protected by religious freedom. We are not protected at all whatsoever. But, of course, if you're a furry, you are. Take a look at what's going on in California.
Now to another story raising eyebrows. Tonight, parents are on alert in Antelope over a group of costumed characters spotted at a children's playground. Thanks for joining us here at 5:30. I'm Hunter Sowards.
And I'm Curtis Ming. Parents say the group is showing up to a park next to an elementary school. Your reporter Andrew Hobner has the furry fears and what the school district is saying about it.
It's a quiet afternoon in Antelope's Firestone Park, but Chris Williams says around the end of school is where the problems start.
I've given up everything I have to do. The principal never got back to me, and other parents.
This past week, costumed individuals known as furries have been arriving at the park next to Olive Grove Elementary School.
They're causing trouble, making their TikTok videos, filming their arguments with parents that don't want them here.
Chris Williams was concerned about the uncertainty of the specific identities of the individuals.
The satanic, the pentagrams, the fact that we don't know who they are.
A concern further amplified when he was shown a suggestive TikTok of one of the costumed personas.
One of the kids said, oh, furries are here. This is their TikTok.
Another parent who wished to not be on camera expressed worry over the individuals arriving during a time of day when the most young children were out at the park. The Dry Creek Elementary School District telling CBS 13 in a statement, quote, "We are aware of the costumed individuals commonly referred to as furries being spotted at parks near 2 of our schools," and adding, "The furries are not breaking any laws by being dressed up in a public park. These parks are not part of the school grounds." Thursday afternoon, one was spotted on campus and law enforcement was called. The individual left campus but could be seen on the other side of the park later that day. As Williams echoes the concern of other parents CBS 13 spoke with.
I understand there's technically not laws fully broken, but it's alarming. Seeing the video, knowing the state of things.
The Sheriff's Department says it has not received any calls.
And it makes sense that that would happen in California. And it makes more sense if you understand these people that it would occur near an elementary school. They didn't randomly just pick an elementary school to be near because, of course, real statistics and data show us that some people with a certain preference actually really prefer children. And that's why you see those people with that certain preference constantly wanting to be around your kids, okay? Nobody ever says, why do they care so much? They're not their kids, they're just other people's kids. Why do they want to be around? Oh, because they don't want, they want to protect them from hate. What? Oh, no, that's not why, of course, because we know how that word grooming goes and what it actually means. So this story says, parents in one Sacramento County community are on alert after what they say are costumed individuals known as furries adorned with satanic symbols arriving at a park next to an elementary school where children were getting out on a quiet afternoon in Antelope's Firestone Park. Chris Williams said that around the end of the school is where the problems start. This whole week, I've given up everything I have to do. The principal didn't get back to me or other parents. The past week, furries have been arriving at the park conveniently when school's out. Don't be suspicious of that. I mean, where's Chris Hansen? Do we have To Catch a Predator? Oh, you can't because furries are protected people, right? You can't say anything because it's hateful for you to say something and to be suspicious of what we're assuming are grown-ups who are dressing up as furries, okay, as like wolves and whatever else these things are, and they're sitting outside of a school. You don't think that's called targeting? No? You don't think that's called targeting? I mean, it makes me think of something that I used to call private justice that needs to clearly be enforced in the United States of America. Because if, the police and nobody else, and we know they're not going to do anything because this whole thing has been set up to be destroyed, right? And we all know the Fraternal Order of Police aren't going to do anything to help civilians. In fact, all the government's going to do is enhance the problem and tell you that this is normal and people like me or you should be silenced for saying, hey, we should probably look out for our kids, especially if grown-ups dressing up as Bugs Bunny are outside the school and in their spare time, they like to do lap dances to each other while they're dressed up as Porky Pig. I mean, maybe common sense would say, yeah, you know what? We have some white padded rooms. Maybe it's time that we use them. But we don't use common sense anymore. Not in a communist society. Of course, the white padded rooms are for all the sane people who are deemed hateful, who are deemed a threat to democracy, et cetera, right? So goes on to say, these people are causing trouble. They're making TikTok videos, as you heard him say earlier. They have satanic pentagrams, and the fact that we don't know who they are. That is a concern, right? Maybe we get the digital ID on the furries so we can figure out who they are, right? I mean, we know who the predators are anyway. Like I said, they identify a certain way, but his concern was further amplified when he was shown a suggestive TikTok of one of the costume personas. Williams said the video is of a costume persona shooting a room up and turning the gun on herself. Another parent who wanted to remain anonymous expressed worry over the individuals arriving during a time of day when most young children were out at the park. Quote, we are aware of the costume individuals commonly referred to as furries being spotted at parks near 2 of our schools. The furries are not breaking any laws by being dressed up in the public park. These parks are not part of the school grounds. Okay, well, what if though, right? What if there was somebody you don't know who they are, right? Because they're in a costume. So how do you not know it's a repeat offender or a criminal under the costume? You don't know. So if we removed the costume and we found out it was a repeat offender or somebody who is not supposed to be anywhere near a school, would you still want them sitting there? Well, of course not. Common sense would tell us no, but we don't have common sense. Now you might say, well, how do we not? Well, they could just be 2 regular people. Well, what if you start seeing suspicious behavior, like 2 grown-ups dressing up as furry animals, dressing up as Daffy Duck and showing up at a park every single day as school's let out? I'd say that qualifies as suspicious behavior And I say that qualifies as something needing to be done. But of course, we know that the news isn't here to inform us or help us. The news is here to agitate us and to hurt us. So a story like this is never going to get solved, but what it's going to do is drive people crazy, because sanity is never the answer to the problem, okay? Now, here's another story some of you may have heard. A couple people asked me to cover it, so I'm going to cover it. We have somebody out there who is speaking about gender season. Does that sound familiar? Probably not, but now it's the newest thing, gender season. So you could identify as a season, depending on what season it is, you might identify as the season, or even in the summer or the fall, you might decide it's summer, but you want to identify as winter, because nothing makes any sense. And of course, we empower this. This is what communism empowers, and that's why this person who's about to speak insanity to you has Karl Marx up on the wall right behind its head. Right? And I say it because I don't know what gender season it's identifying as today, so I can't really say man, woman, fall, spring, summer, or whatever else. Right? I can't really say it, but I can say that Karl Marx is right behind the head of this, and that's why I've constantly been talking about the importance of understanding, okay, the Communist Manifesto and what they're doing to the youth out there by implementing all of this insanity. Yes, there's Noahide laws, but there's also the Communist Manifesto. They work hand in hand. Okay, they work hand in hand. There's a blueprint in place. There is no gender. Everything is destroyed except for the ruling class. And the ruling class is your Jeff Bezoses of the world, your celebrities of the world. Not people like this, but people like this are part of the problem. These are the people who are causing people to lose their minds, and then they're normalizing it, and they're promoting it and telling you if you speak against it, you should go to jail for hate speech. Listen to Gender Season.
Can your gender change from season to season? Hi, I'm Dee, my pronouns are they, them, but I also go by any pronouns, and today's video is inspired by an ex of mine who used to say to me,
why does your gender change so dramatically season to season?
And I want to talk about that. For a lot of trans and non-binary individuals, you may also find yourself changing or exploring your expression or gender identity depending on the season. Now, this isn't saying that all trans individuals experience this, because that's just not the case, or that seasons determine your gender identity or expression. However, it can influence it. For myself, I feel more masculine in the summertime. I wear more masculine clothing, I wear shorts, I normally have my hair up more, and I just feel more boy. Whereas in the wintertime, for some reason, girl mode comes out and I'm loving skirts and dresses and having my hair down. And this might be because in the summertime I get sensory issues because of the heat, so I wear my hair up and I wear less clothing. Whereas in the winter I'm in multiple layers, so I can wear stuff that is a bit more girly or girl coded or a bit more frilly, because I can experiment with the layers to make it a combination of masc and femme that suits me. For a lot of individuals, they are the opposite. I know so many trans and non-binary individuals who are fluid as I am with their gender identity and expression, who find themselves being more feminine in the summertime and more masculine in the wintertime. And regardless of which one you are, if you're masc in the summer or masc in the winter, or femme in the summer or femme in the winter, that's totally valid and completely up to you. But I think once you start thinking about how you dress depending on the season, you then start thinking, I wonder if it is tied to my gender expression. I also want to just quickly say that gender and expression are completely different. How you dress and express yourself does not always equal your gender identity. So when my ex used to say to me, oh, you change gender depending on the season, I wouldn't say I changed gender because I've always been fluid. I just changed my expression. Did you know, however, there is a gender identity that is linked to the seasons? This is called gender season. And this is a gender identity I've only just learnt about. It's a micro identity. It's not an identity that I have ever heard discussed before. It's a new one for me. So if anybody knows anything more about gender season, please let me know, because I am new to this identity. But from what I know, gender season is an individual who explores their gender identity in relation to a season or all the seasons. So this might be somebody whose gender expression and identity is linked to one season. So for example, winter. Or this might be somebody whose gender identity and expression changes depending on the season. So does that mean I'm gender season? No. For me personally, I am just fluid with my gender identity and my expression, and for some reason in the summer my boy comes out and in the winter my femme comes out. That's totally okay, because my expression doesn't necessarily relate to my gender. I just have fun with my expression, and for some reason in the summer I just want to wear shorts and snapbacks and put my hair up and run around and play in the dirt. What can I say? you are somebody whose gender identity or expression changes with the season, that's completely valid too. Why not look into gender season? Or if you're like me and you're just fluid with your identity and your expression, just have fun with it. I will keep you posted on Dee's seasonal identity this year. If you want to know more about gender season, please let me know, because I definitely want to research it more, and I want to speak to individuals who identify as gender season to hear how they identify. It's an identity I've never heard of before. And that's something I absolutely love about being an LGBTQ+ content creator and activist, is learning new terms and identities within the community, because there are new ones being created every single day. I absolutely love learning, so. And that is all for today, folks. Bye.
So yeah, that makes perfect sense. You even got a little sigil on the shirt there, but I mean, this is the stuff we're dealing with, right? Like Karl Marx right in the background. And none of these kids understand it because they don't teach this stuff anymore. They don't teach you about communism, how bad it is, how dangerous. They actually tell kids out there that communism's the answer. And these kids actually believe it. They don't realize that they're going to be slaves, worse than anything that's ever happened in human history with the way technology is now. Okay, the amount of control they're going to have over every breath and every move you make is going to be utterly dystopian. It's going to be hell on earth. And this is the problem. This is what we're dealing with, right? We're dealing with it because not only when you see stuff like this do we laugh at it, but we also know that what they've tried to do and they continue to try to do is tell you that if you speak against or try to get people like this help, that you're hateful. But wouldn't we say that somebody who is identifying as, let's just say, winter, the season of winter, that it's a little bit insane and maybe they need help? But of course not. That's hateful, right? So what is it okay to tell somebody they need help? When is it? Oh, when they're into conspiracy, right? Because any type of conspiracy goes against global communism, and that's dangerous to the people who are in charge, right? So they embrace things like this. They promote things like this. They want stuff like this out there. They want children to be influenced by this. And ultimately, the weaker of a society we have, the more insane of a society we have, the less of a threat society becomes to this dictatorship. And that's why we continue to see this stuff promoted. Now, this story is likely even a plant. Just the fact that Karl Marx is in the background should be enough for most of us to go, okay, this is a little bit too much. But who would even be surprised? I wouldn't have been surprised if there was an all-seeing eye in the background. Maybe there is. I mean, I can't really see that great in the background, but maybe there is, right? Looks like maybe even monarch butterfly wings in the background, right? But this is what we're dealing with in our society, okay? We're dealing with a society that wants you to be accepting and tolerant of everything, except, of course, rules and laws, except, of course, of Christianity, which they deem hateful. So things like this they promote. Then they want to spread this to your kids and everybody else's kids, and you're not allowed to question it or stop it from happening, because the weaker society becomes, the more controllable they become, and the more that we have people like this that the government creates, the more laws they could pass to protect the crazier people, and then, of course, silence the people like us. And ultimately, at the end of the day, people like this are going to be silenced too, and they're going to be under full control, and they're never going to realize it, ever. There's never going to be a moment for these people that they wake up and they go, what have we done? They're just going to complain till the day they die. The majority of these people, you've seen a pattern. They complain constantly. Nothing's ever enough. We currently have a government that caters to, even when Trump was in office, caters to this specific communist group. Okay, this communist group that ends with a plus at the end of their name. They cater to them. Every single thing that's passed is for this small minority of people, right? They cater to them, they promote them. If you speak against them, you get canceled, you get this or that, right? And they constantly complain that it's not enough. It's not enough. And then when brands support them, that's not good enough, because the brands are just trying to ride the high of these people. But the brands are the ones who have created the movement. The corporations are the one who created the movement. These people don't even realize where this movement has come from. They think it's some organic movement that they made up. They joined on board a government movement. That's what this whole thing is, okay? It's a Marxist movement, literally. That's what we're dealing with, as Karl Marx sits in the background behind whatever, what season is this person identifying as here? Well, I don't know, because they could change it every single day, and that seems perfectly sane in this world, right? This today I feel like this. You heard some of the comments. Yeah, some I feel like a boy in the summer, a girl in the winter, right? You can just say and do what you want. Remember, that all goes back to Aleister Crowley, do what thou wilt. So this is what's going on in the world right now. As more and more people are silenced, as more and more truth is suppressed, it's promoted and glorified, all this other stuff. And if you call it out for what it really is, you get silenced for it. But the utter insanity of all of it is that we're really just allowing the youth to be brainwashed by the government, and then they turn into this. And it's really sad is what it is, because I don't know anyone personally, but I see it. And I see the narcissism that comes out of it. It's a certain breed of human being that they're creating, and they're not really even human. None of the thoughts that they're having are free thoughts. It's all controlled. It's all manufactured from the government and spread down like a virus. And then they think this is something to do with the preference in the bedroom, and it doesn't. It's a species of human. The political ideologies are ingrained in them, and nobody gives a crap what they do in the bedroom, but that's part of the problem. It's the problem for them is that we don't care what they actually do, and they want us to care more about what they like to do behind closed doors, but obviously now, more than ever, they're doing it out in the open. I thank everybody for being here. Remember, love wins, okay? Love wins. That's what the channel promotes. Love will always win. It's my motto. It's why I hashtag it, love wins. Don't be a hateful bigot, okay? Appreciate and embrace the insane. I thank you for being here. God bless all of you and your families, as always.